Hi, this is Guy Hebert, former NHL goaltender, and I am the mask in the mask in the mic. And
done?
Now it's your turn, Kent.
It's my done. My done. It's my turn. I am Kent French, and I am the mic in this equation. Former broadcaster, I guess, still trying to broadcast. And speaking of broadcasters, we're sitting next to our next guest, the one and only Steve Carroll. He is actually in the introduction of the podcast. 27 years with the Anaheim Ducks, 50 plus years of broadcasting. We are going to go take a trip down memory lane with Steve Carroll, and we already know, we taped it. It's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good, Gibo.
Yeah, I mean, we use this word, it's gold, and it is really good gold.
It is gold. So we hope you enjoy the podcast with the one and only Steve Carroll, who for the first time ever is not saying a word, but that certainly won't be the case on this podcast. And Guy, as we always like to say,
And good for us.
Thank you.
welcome everyone to another edition of The Mask and the Mic. Kent French alongside Guy Hebert. Well, actually, Kent French alongside Steve Carroll as we have a new configuration for the program. Steve-O is now, I had to go pick him up. This is talk about a VIP situation here. We asked Steve, newly retired from broadcasting in the Anaheim Ducks, and I said, Steve, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Guy invited you on the podcast. We finally got you on the podcast, but I had to go pick you up at the car dealership this morning.
Is he buying a new car? Is that
no? So his car takes a digger. And we won't get into this because it's a sensitive subject. I know, right? Like a week after you retire, your car is gone. And so I pick him up, bring him to the in-house studio, and you can tell that this is not a high-budget operation, Steve Carroll.
Well, I'm looking for an updated check with about $3,000 so I can afford to at least pay a down payment on a new car, because I don't think this one's going to last much longer.
Oh, God. Talk about it. I mean, I was on this. Whatever.
Hey, Steve, we're working on creating a budget so that we can pay our guests.
Oh, my God.
At some point. So, hey, hang with us, get our ratings boosted, and keep looking in the mailbox.
I got a watch. Right. I got a watch that I got from in high school. I'll give it to you.
All right, that'll help.
Yeah, that's our giveaway now.
Whatever we have, the pawn shop.
Whatever we have laying around is our giveaways.
Sticky fingers in that.
Hey, I gotta tell you, I already like this show a whole lot.
Oh hell, it's off the rails, man. This is kind of how it rolls. And by the way, I have new audio equipment. We're sitting next to each other for the first time. Hell, if this thing is recording or not, I hope everything goes okay. I don't know, but let's just assume it is, and we'll continue. And let's kick this thing off by saying, first and foremost, congratulations. Congratulations on 50 plus years in broadcasting, 27 with the Anaheim Ducks. What a hell of a run you had. How are you doing? And I know that's a loaded question because all you've done is broadcasting. That's been your life. And now you are home while the team is in Edmonton. How are you doing?
Well, if you want me to be honest,
no, lie to us.
Hey, this is raw. This is raw right here.
And unfiltered. And hopefully recording.
You know what? I don't think you ever get used to when you have a job that you love the people you're being around, and it's something that you've always thought about, because believe me, guys, I was never good enough to play any kind of sport except step ball, and then I was breaking windows in the house next to us, hitting the tennis ball against the outside of the steps. That's my claim to fame, so I had to find, something else to do, and it was broadcasting. And I'll tell you something, I have no regrets. It took me a long time to get to the higher levels of the different sports, but when you start at age 14, which I did, I was looking it up the other day, and go to a broadcast school, you never think about something like this happening, or really and truly getting an opportunity to work at a big league level, regardless of the sport, whether it's baseball or hockey. And I loved college sports, football and basketball, but I can't say that I've really had a bad day. When your team's losing and you're close to the guys, you kind of suffer along with them. But just being able to broadcast sports, number one, because I wasn't good enough to be an athlete, that had a lot to do with it. But just do something that you have a passion for, and I have no regrets about it. I wish I could have stayed on a little bit longer, but hey, I'm around people like you two guys, and maybe be doing some work down the line for the Ducks organization. So you know what? You can't ask for anything more than that.
Well, I mean, no doubt. And congratulations again, Steve. It's, as Frenchie said, and as everybody said over the last couple months, that an incredible ride for you. But I want to welcome you into the world of being a retired person, because as you know, all of a sudden, one day you're working, doing the thing that you love. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, you're done. And whether it's by your own choice or the choice of the organization, a lot of times and the athlete side of it, it's you have a shelf life, and at some point you're just not young enough, you're not fast enough, your skills start to diminish, and so then you're kind of faced with the decision of is this the time for me to hang up my gear? So it's safe, Steve. Just I'll tell you, it's safe on the other side. It's given me, and I'm sure yourself, it's going to give you other opportunities, to be around the team, be around the game that you love, and of course to do a lot of other fun things, much like appearing on the Mask and the Mike podcast. You can find that on Apple and Spotify. It's a shameless plug right there. But moving forward, and I know you have a lot of goals, and we've discussed it, kind of privately. If you could do something and you could do whatever you wanted to do, is there one thing that you would want to do in kind of your post career? I mean, for me, it was trying to sample something different, which was not playing the game. It was moving into what you've both have done for years and years and years. It was broadcasting. So, if you could just pick something, I mean, you could be a rally race car driver, you could be a skydiver, you could be whatever you could be. Is there something that you've never thought like, hey, I'm going to give this a try because now I have the opportunity?
Well, some of those things you just mentioned, none of the above. I don't know if I could do it, first of all. This might sound really different, and I'm speaking from the heart when I say this, but in years past, when I worked in all these cities, and I was in 10 different states when all is said and done, including California, one of the things that I enjoyed, and I realized that maybe I'm supposed to be around for that, is I liked working in community relations for the sports teams I was with. And I had some family people that we lost, and some young kids that I got to know. And wherever I've been, I've told them up front that call me, let me know. And I enjoyed, just being around someone that might need a cheering up, or they want some good words coming their way, and started some jobs with visiting kids at hospitals, going to different events, speaking. I didn't ask for any money. I didn't want any, but doing those type of things, because when I was going up through the minors, and that's 33 seasons, you're doing all of that. You're not getting paid for it, but you know what? I felt good after accomplishing some things that I wanted to do. And that means more to me than anything, the money, the actual broadcast, what I've done. And it's something that I still want to pursue, because if you can make somebody else happy that's going through a tough time, a kid that's sick, you know what? You've done already maybe a lifelong service, because you're going to see them smile, and you're also going to be able to get to know them. And then it takes maybe any thing that's going wrong in your career or in life, and you start realizing, you know what, I've got it pretty good. I've been pretty fortunate, and I really have to be able to do all the things I've been able to do. I can't ask for anything more.
Well, that's why you're such a great fit for the Anaheim Ducks organization, as we all know the Samuelis and what they're able to do in the community. And so moving forward, as you mentioned, we are certain you're going to be part of the organization in some capacity, and that would be certainly something that you thrive in, is that space of the nonprofit space. You've done such a tremendous job in it so far. I can't see how you would not be included in that moving forward. But I do want to ask you, though, you mentioned 14 years of age is when this whole journey in broadcasting started. Like, why? You alluded to the fact that you didn't have maybe the athleticism to be a professional athlete,
which I'm shocked at, by the way.
Which I am not shocked at, just so you know. But how and where did this passion for broadcasting come to you at such a young age?
Well, maybe it's because I couldn't do anything else. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding right there. But I've always been enthralled with that. And My life early on, even when I was 7 or 8 years old, growing up in St. Louis, I never missed a Cardinal baseball game, a Big Red football game, the NFL team they had there, the St. Louis Blues, the St. Louis Hawks, St. Louis University. I loved listening to people doing sports, whether it be the radio or if you're watching TV. And I thought, you know what? I'm not good enough to be an athlete. What's the next best thing? So I got involved in writing articles for like school newspapers when I went to high school in St. Louis, and I just became enthralled with, hey, this isn't a bad job to have. If you enjoy sports like I did and you're getting paid for it, maybe it's something I ought to get into. And I went to broadcast school for it, wound up in 10 states. And I don't think, honestly, we have our ups and downs. Teams have good years, teams have bad years, but I don't think I've had a bad day in the broadcast booth because for those 3 or 4 hours, you're just focused in and doing something that you really, really love, and you don't care about anything else as long as you're doing the job. And that's the next best thing, closest, in my opinion, to being at a ballpark doing a broadcast. And, I'm just grateful for all those opportunities. And I should write a book because I think it would help some people because it helped me writing to myself saying, you need to do this or get away from this. But no, seriously, I've always had a passion for this. And, I love the athletes, no matter what sport it is. Now, some might think that I'm a little too crazy about professional wrestling, but I actually got to do some TV editing for that.
That's like another podcast right there.
Yeah.
Steve-O with the WWE.
Yeah. But I got out of the way when a guy was being tossed against the ropes, and I'm there doing like production for the guy that's doing the play-by-play, and this guy, 300 pounds, comes at me. I'm going like this. I turn my head. I say, everybody all right? They go, no, I think this guy standing outside the ring there, security guy, might have got bumped by an arm. And so I actually left to go help him get back for the treatment. But hey, I have to tell you, this is fun because I could write 7, 8 books right away on everything I've been able to do, but it's all good. It's all good.
Well, yeah. I mean, Steve, first, Frenchie and I are signing up for that limited edition book because I think it would be just absolute gold. I mean, I think, and a lot of people, and I love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, I spent time in the minors. I was in Peoria, Illinois with the St. Louis Blues, and some of my favorite memories, some of the things I learned most about myself, most about my game and where it needed to go, things I needed to improve on, were all encapsulated in my time in Peoria. And I think that the appreciation that you get from being in the minors, you're on long bus rides and you're grabbing your own gear and you're hanging the wet gear, helping out the equipment guy because there's one equipment guy. There's not equipment guys. And it's like one trainer, one equipment guy. There's one radio guy. There's usually, back in my day, there was a head coach. And sometimes we didn't even have an assistant coach. So it was a limited number of people. So, you got your hands dirty and everybody pitched in. Yep. It was a real team and community kind of bonding. And when you made it to the NHL, it was, you really didn't take anything for granted. And so, I mean, I can assume that you experience a lot of those same things. And I'm sure you got your hands dirty helping out in all facilities, gear, radio stuff, probably pushing a team bus out of the mud, I can assume.
I stayed away from that because I only had one pair of new clothes for an 8-day trip. So I knew that I better not ruin those. But no, you're right. And the years that I spent in the minors, and it was like 17 and 17 basically for football, basketball at the college level, you got hockey, you got baseball, but you worked in the office all day long. You weren't making a whole lot of money either, but you're traveling with a team. Fortunately, when I was in Des Moines, we had shorter trips that only lasted 4 or 5 hours, but some of those 8 to 9 ones, and even getting up early in the morning for a plane ride coast to coast, even in the National Hockey League. And, it's rough. And quite honestly, I was single during those times, and probably a good idea because I wouldn't have had much of a life. Wife go, where are you today? Don't forget, you got to do this when you come home. So I didn't have to go through all of that. I just waited till I moved to the next level because I knew I might have some time off.
Smart man.
Thank God for Rhonda. Yeah.
She's the best.
Oh my gosh. When you talk about broadcasting in the minor leagues. What was your very first broadcasting job? And what do you remember about it?
Oh, boy. Well, I worked for 4 different stations in St. Louis doing the sportscast at night. One of the stations was affiliated with an additional station that I worked for. They were in rooms right next to one another. So,
How old are you at this point in time?
I look like I'm 40, but I just turned 70. Yeah.
No. How old were you when you started?
Oh,
He was 40 and it looked
so
like
yeah,
70.
Hey, can we cut that part
Oh,
out?
my
All right. Anyway,
Yeah, we'll have our editing bay take care of that. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
honestly, 16 is when I started because I went to a broadcast center and
Wow.
I had some sports people come in and you'd have a disc jockey come in. And growing up as like a season ticket holder for the Blues and the football Cardinals and baseball, I always wanted to be around. And I just pursued it, and the broadcast school at the time had connections with, small market stations because that's where most people start. And you know what? That's great for you too. You start at the bottom level and then you gain respect for the people that are in that. And then one little thing leads to another. You're learning how to broadcast football, baseball, basketball. You're doing the news report. I'm there at 5:00 in the morning. And hey, I have to tell you this. It's just brought up a story.
Yeah.
You got to hear this one.
Yeah.
I went to broadcast school in St. Louis, and there's a town 60 miles south of there, Farmington, Missouri. It's a farm town. And I got a job there, and they told me they want me to come down to be like a disc jockey and do news. So the GM of the organization, his name was Terry James. I'll never forget it. And he lived in the house across from the station. Now, Farmington, Missouri is a town of like 12, 13,000, and you're lucky if you get a wake-up call down there if you're late, which that's what happened to me. The first day I was on the air down there, before I'm supposed to interview a guy like Digger Phelps, some of these big-time college basketball
Wow.
coaches, Al McGuire, I'm late. So here's how I knew I was late. I got up around 7:00 in the morning. I was supposed to be on the air at 5:30. I looked out and the sun is shining. The sun is shining.
What a horrible feeling that
I
is.
said, my career probably just ended before it started. So I get in a car. I must have been doing, I better watch. Somebody might be listening. I did about 50 miles an hour for like a mile to get to the station. And so I walk in and they have a speaker outside, and you have to turn the station on and off when you're working in a small town like that. Well, there's some funny stories there I could tell you too. But I get out of the car, and all of a sudden I hear the station on the air. It's coming out of these large speakers, and I knew that the GM of the station lived across the street. So I walk in front, and I see this glass window, and I'm seeing this guy kind of lean back, sort of, looking like, oh, so you made it. That's what I kind of thought. So I go in there. He says, are you ready to go? He says, you were supposed to be here at 5:30 in the morning to do a farm report of all things. I had a hard time pronouncing names of different animals back then. Seriously. But it was the start of a good career. So I walk in there, and he gets behind where the board is. He goes back, leans back, got his feet up. This is exactly what he said, son. You'll never make it in this business if you're late for one day of work. Shouldn't let it happen. He says, I know you're new here, so let's see if we can work on that. And I thought for sure I was going to lose my job before the first day of work. And that's just one of the many stories there, because you're doing high school football or basketball at night. You're waiting for all the guys to come back. You're getting in at 1 or 2 in the morning from Flat River, Missouri to Farmington, and it's raining, pouring, and you're trying to find your car. You don't know where it is. There's mud all over the station. So, I survived that. So I knew right then and there that I would have a career because the guy let me go, but you can't let that happen again. And I took his words, and I think I might have been late because I had a car problem one time in all these years I've been doing it, to be real honest with you. I've always been on time.
Guess
Well,
what?
yeah,
And
hey,
I gotta
Frenchie.
say this because Steve Carroll, the joke, the running, fun, ribbing Steve Carroll joke is that Steve Carroll is on the bus like an hour before it leaves, whatever city we're in. So
Yes, that was where I was going, because the few times I've been able to travel with the team and Steve, of course, I'd be like, hey, what time's the bus? And they're like, oh, if you see Steve, that means you're an hour early. So
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, well, Steve's on the bus. I have a lot of time to go get Starbucks or something because there's plenty of time. But
Oh, so
as
good.
we all know, when you're scared straight by being late,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've all been late for something. And I can remember in St. Louis, my rookie year, same type of thing. Brian Sutter was our coach, and he's
Yeah.
like, hey, bus is at 8 a.m. Be on it or be under it. And that was his 2 words. And I came out with my roommate for the 8 o'clock bus at like, I don't know, 7:59, no bus. And we jumped in the cab, raced to get to the airport to meet the team. We get there, get fined because we missed the bus. And we're like, well, it was 8 o'clock. And he's, kid, it's the NHL. 8 doesn't mean 8. 8 means you're late. So, so much like you, I was there early to get on that team bus.
Yeah, there's one other thing. When you're in the minor leagues, for who's ever listening to this, and I'll just tell you something. I was in the minor leagues for a long time, and 33 seasons, and you don't know if you're ever going to get another job or a chance. But you've got to go through that. But the one thing that was difficult is in those situations, you're not only the broadcaster, you're doing public relations. You got to be at work the next day, game night operations. You got to go get the stats for the coach before they leave. So you're still on the air and you see 3/4 of the team already on the bus when you walk by the door.
Yeah.
And then you're hustling and you're sweating when it came to baseball because I did that for many years. And then the players get on you. They're going, come on, Steve, what are you doing? Holding up the bus? Come on, let's go, let's go. And the coach stood up and said, no, he's doing some stuff for me. Everybody was quiet, but it puts you in a lot of uncomfortable positions. But you know what? You know what it did, guys? It made you closer to the people that really matter, like general managers
Yeah.
of minor league teams. And I think the players respect you too for doing all the additional work. And the other part of it is you become, I think, a better announcer when you're doing that because you've got all this information that you got yourself. You don't have to count on anybody else to print stats from Howe or whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
And it was okay. You get used to it after a while, but I will tell you this, at this level, boy, we get a lot of help up here. And I think I throw a party for all the PR directors in this league because they're on the ball, every single one of them, especially in hockey. And that saves your life, too. Gives you some breather and maybe have a second helping of food at lunch, too.
Well, that's
Well,
Guibo,
that's a whole nother story about Steve and his
Oh,
endless
gosh.
appetite that I've witnessed. But yeah, okay,
I
that'll be
think
episode 2.
I think Steve learned how to ration his food. He just ate for 4 people and made it last for however long. But no, you both have said it, and I've been very fortunate, to have that support. But you guys saw it firsthand, and Guibo, the training staff, the coaching staff, it was light. It was skeleton crew, and for you, Steve Carroll, the same thing when it comes to PR. You had to do everything, and you have an appreciation. I mean, you have an appreciation as you get older and you get in these other spots, and I think that's super important. And when you talk about your career and your path, what was your favorite stop
Oh, boy.
in your minor league career, and tell me why?
Okay, well, I'll tell you, I was single at the time. When I worked in Nashville, Tennessee, it was awesome.
I like Nashville.
7 years, and I had 7 jobs at one time.
What?
I know you're not going to believe this, but I'll reel them off for you.
Wait.
Nashville Sounds Baseball, Nashville Knights, East Coast Hockey League. I worked for the Nashville Banner and the Nashville Tennessean as a writer during that time. And then I got a job doing Vanderbilt football as the color analyst. I mean, I wasn't an expert on football, so I had learned. And then I did Vanderbilt basketball. And then Larry Schmittou, who was the GM of the Nashville Sounds, took over and bought another team from a new league called the Global Basketball League. They were called the Music City Jammers. And because I worked for him under 5 teams, he let me do all the broadcasts. So I had no life, but
how the hell did you have time to eat? You love to eat. You don't even have time to eat.
That's a true story. That's a true story.
7 jobs?
Yeah, and the job with the newspaper wasn't just collecting scores at night, but I began to write. And in a couple of cities I was in, when you're still in the minor leagues, you're doing everything, and you've got access to the players, so they want you to write a few little quotes. But I enjoyed writing the columns, and I have to tell you guys, and I'm serious about this, not trying to be funny, but I have so much respect for writers, not only in sports, but in the news, guys that have been around, women who've been around. It's a tough thing because you gotta be careful at the minor league level to not get on people, if you know what I mean,
Yep.
because it's minor leagues, and you don't want people talking about you that way too if they say, "We didn't like what you said," or something like that. I think maybe only one time that happened to me seriously, and, we had a conversation, and, it was over with. Guy and me got along very well the next day, so a lot of respect for those people, and, how they do it and how they got access to all the players, and that is beyond me. But the good thing is, in what we do for a living, there's so many different venues, so many different things you can do in broadcasting. It's not just about doing sports or anything like that, but I did disc jockey work too. I told you that I had this. I know you're not going to believe this. I got the resume and the letters to prove it.
I don't know what to believe
I worked
anymore.
at 4 nightclubs in St. Louis, Missouri, when I was first starting out. I could name them off too. I
Well,
could tell you
Steve
where the
Carroll-
music was,
Hey,
the whole schmeal.
If
We
they
saw
were
some
open during
pictures.
my time, I might have heard the silky sweet tones of
Well,
one
think
Steve
about
Carroll.
this. We saw some pictures of Steve Carroll in the Jumbotron when he was being honored, and Steve Carroll was a sexy man back in the day. He had the full head of dark hair and a mustache,
Yeah.
and had a little bit of steel wool going on there. I mean, you were
Steel wool. I don't know if Steve knows what you're talking about. Listen,
Okay, look,
I
he was
can
very
only think of
he was
two
very
men-
Austin Powers-esque.
Yeah, exactly. I can think of only 2 people who can actually. Well, no, I'll go 3 people now that can actually rock a mustache.
Who you
A,
got?
probably the top of the list, Tom Selleck.
Yes,
All-time
that's
best.
where I was going with that. Absolutely,
Second,
Magna PI.
Steve Carroll.
Oh,
Hey,
And
how
then-
about Sparky Lyle? He had a pretty interesting one, didn't he? The handlebar
yeah.
mustache.
Oh, is that the no? Yeah, no.
Pitcher.
Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh Fingers with the little and then Joel Quenneville.
Joel. Coach
That's
Q.
kind of
Yeah.
my
That's
that's my,
true.
that's
I
my
like
top
that.
3. I'm sure there's some others, but
Yeah.
it is hard to rock a mustache. Steve, you've done it great. Hey, I want to segue into something.
Oh my
other
God!
than
How can you
steel wool.
segue out of nightclubs? My
Um,
goodness gracious!
So,
Go with that
well,
one.
first, I mean, are there any of the nightclubs in the? Let's see. I turned pro in '89.
Oh,
so
well, you don't
my
want to go
time
down
in
this road.
St. Louis, '89 to '93. Were you silky sweet tones of any of those establishments during that time?
Did you remember the Godfather's restaurant out in Florissant? They used to call the disco Goombas. Do you remember that one at all? It was a
even
really
if
nice
I did,
place.
I would say no.
This is called the Mask of the Mike Deep Cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The B side.
I worked at the Mill. That was out in North St. Louis.
Oh, my
But here's the
God.
thing. I got to know all the disc jockeys and everything in town by doing that. And they're actually the ones that got me into the disco work because they had to work at night. So I was getting work 3 times a week. And I did that for about 2 years. And then when you meet other people, they go, hey, can you come? And, we got a birthday party coming. That's the best part of what I've been through is to meet the many people. I did news for 3 years, and I was covering fires, shootings, and stuff like that.
Jeez.
You'd be up all night. And I worked for 3 different stations doing that in Illinois. So, but, this might be difficult for people to understand. First of all, when you have no talent to be an athlete, then you're looking for what am I going to do down the line? And somebody said, why don't you go to the broadcast center in St. Louis? And I did. And I ended up working for 2 of the disc jockeys. Gary Records Brown was one of them, had a famous oldie show. And I just fell in love with what I was doing. And I never knew that it would wind up like this, to be real honest with you. But you have to put in the time too. You have to pay your dues. A lot of people want the jobs right away. And
Yeah.
they ask me, they go, how did you get this? And they go, well, I'm not going to spend that much time. Well, all right, we'll see you somewhere else, maybe at the bank or something like that behind the counter. I don't know, but
You'll be scanning my groceries.
yeah, I have, you know what? I have no regrets, guys. It's been unbelievable to do something because my parents always knew where I was. I never got into trouble, and they knew I was either at a ballpark, at a sports event, at a dinner thing, and it was great. Had a great upbringing, and I love what I do. I always have. I've met some of the best people around, and I'm just grateful for it. Hopefully, I'll be around for another 10 years, 11 years or something, and be able to be around the sports world for a while more.
Well, listen, I was trying to segue into something else, and I lost my whole train of thought listening to all that wisdom. But I do have, being back in the minors, I came across some of the best pranksters
Oh.
in my entire life, right? Guys who could chirp on the ice. But some of the stuff that happened off the ice, in the locker room, in the parking lot, in a variety of places. Like, I'll just set the tone, and then Steve, I'm sure you've got some gold for us. I remember coming out, and a lot of the pranks went between teammates, of course, but it also included front office.
Yeah.
Our head of ticket sales in Peoria, and I don't know why I said this. So there was always something going on with two of my teammates. I won't name them right now, but two of the funniest guys ever. And so we walked out to the parking lot one day after practice, and there was a car up on cinder blocks with no tires on them. Wheels were gone. And we were like, what the hell happened? And so they thought it was going to be funny because the ticket guy refused these guys extra tickets for something.
Oh, man.
To a game. And they said, well, we're going to get that guy. And so literally, I don't know how they did it. He said, all of a sudden it was like a team thing. Hey, everybody's got to go out to the parking lot. So that's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, my shoes were cut in half, nailed to the wall. I don't know if it was rookie initiation. I mean, there was, hot balm in helmets. I mean, like, the list just goes on and on and on. But the no tires and car on cinder blocks was all-time greatest.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, Steve, that you witnessed something, or maybe pulled a prank or two.
No, not me. I would never do such a thing.
Listen,
especially to a coach. I'll just tell you one quick story. This is when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, because that's where I spent 7 years doing 4 or 5 different things. But I got a call from 2 of the players. They were with the Cubs organization at the time. And you're going way back to like the Billy Hatchers, people of that era. I get a call in my room, and I look up, and it's 3:00 in the morning. And a guy goes, I had no idea who it was. And the lady that connected me from downstairs that worked there said, there's a gentleman here who needs to talk to you immediately. So to this day, I don't know who did it, but it was a player. And he actually said, Steve, we're catching a bus right now. We have to leave to get to the game tomorrow. They switched the time to 1:00. So you need to come down here and catch the bus. So guess what happens? I pack everything up. I'm dead tired, and I'm walking, and there's 6 players out there just rolling, laughing. They were just coming in from a night out, and I'm there going, oh gosh, I must look kind of foolish here going down here. But they said it was the best joke they ever played on anybody, and that I was a good guy to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I mean, that is, it's stories and memories that you make, in the minors that are just so amazing.
Yeah.
That, you can tell that story forever, and it's great every time you tell it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'll just say this, if you don't mind. There's a lot of young guys that come up, young ladies that say, how were you able to spend that much time in the minor leagues, and didn't you give up? Well, I told one of them, I said, yeah, I gave up around 40 to 50 times because they kept denying you sent a tape out resume like that. But I said, I have this belief that if you go out and pay your dues, it's an important line. Whether you start in a small farming town like I did with 2,000, or whether you're in the middle, say like AA baseball, the minor leagues in hockey, you know what? Have fun with it. Do it, because there's no guarantees you're going to get anywhere else. But guess what? If things don't open up when you have a broadcast job, or something happens where all they got is, to sell different things at the hockey game, or we've got 2 sponsors here, where why don't you hold this up and walk through the stands before the game, see if we can sell a few of these. It's okay, because to me, the people that have the most experience and can do more than just the normal folks, those are the ones that eventually, I believe this very sincerely, if you pay your dues, there's always going to be at least 1 or 2 opportunities down the line if you want to stick out with it. And it's amazing how many people I run into that they got this job because they were doing something like that, and the guy from the other team enjoyed their PR work, game notes, hired him the next year. He
Yeah.
ended up spending there for I think 5-6 years. So more experience you get down at the lower levels, especially of sports broadcasting, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to open up some doors for you in various items. You might not want to be a broadcaster. You might want to just do PR, maybe some game night operations. Nothing wrong with that, because you can make some decent money if you move up the ladder. So that's just me talking, but everything to me was kind of fun, because I knew I wasn't going to be an athlete and I wasn't very good. And I was pretty good at slow pitch softball, though. Didn't get hurt. That was another good thing.
That's
But
huge.
I just decided to go ahead and pursue that in case I can't find one. At least I'll be happy in an organization.
So that being said, with these up and coming broadcasters that you alluded to, and they asked you, how did you make it through the minor leagues? You said, I quit 30 to 40 times. Was there a time when you, I wouldn't say convinced, but thought you were not going to make it?
Oh, I'd say, let's see, how many hands do I need here? 1, 4, 5,
And
10.
that never stopped
And
you.
I'm not trying to be funny,
that
but
never
no.
stopped you from doing what you love.
No, and what I made sure of was I worked for a couple of stations, like I said, doing news. I did weather for 2 stations, and I have to throw this out at you real quick. These memories are coming back. How did I survive all
Hour
that?
hour
I don't
one
know,
of a
but-
5-hour
but
podcast.
seriously,
Steve Carroll.
I got a job at a station doing weather at night, and I didn't even know what the word like barometric pressure and all that stuff was. I just went in there, and luckily I had some people that worked at night and things like that. And the one night when I first started, I miscalled like the weather forecast. It was for another area outside the city I was working for. So they were supposed to get storms and the other people weren't. So I went and gave the storm one because I didn't know where the city was. Nobody told me, where is this? I don't know. It was in a small town. It was actually in Tennessee, by the way. And I went ahead and did this, and the phone lit up, and they go, "Hey, tell that." You had like a producer there. They said, "Tell that guy who's on the TV that's another town. It's similar in the way you say it, Nep, but we're not going to get any rain here." And not tell him that because it might help him do the weather. Hey, I could write 15, 20,000 books on my life.
I love it. I want to know the story when you finally got the call to be a broadcaster in the National Hockey League with Philly. I know your experience there might not have been the best, but just the fact that the time finally came after 30 plus years in the minor leagues, you got your chance. What was that call like?
And just so you know, to make me feel better, the same thing happened to me as it did to another person that followed me, and that's as far as I'll go. So you know what? And I shouldn't say this, but I will. But when I look back, they did me a favor. They said they're looking for somebody else, and look where I wound up. I mean, yeah, that's like a storybook thing, things that don't normally happen, but it took a few years. I had to go back to the minors, but you know what? I wound up in just a terrific place with great people that own it. The athletes, the Kent Frenches of life here. I mean, you can't
beat that.
the group of people. So, but to answer your question, I don't know. I took one day at a time. I was doing so many things in the minor leagues that I was exhausted by the time I got out of there. And I thought, you know what? If I can't do play-by-play, I can do PR. I can do other things, or, game night operations, go visit kids at hospital. And I did all that just to make sure if I'm ever in a situation where I lose a job, I've got some people that I stayed connected with that can maybe help you. Are they're in a position of power somewhere else, and they can call you, say, "Oh, we kind of lost track of you, but would you be interested in coming out here and doing some work?" Sure. Because I love what I do. So
yes is an easy word.
yeah.
And when you're offered opportunity, saying yes is certainly the best answer. But so you had your dip to toe into the NHL, and then so how did the whole, approach or the way you were able to get to Anaheim come about? I know you've told me snippets of how you made it out to Anaheim, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know how you ended up getting the job that, obviously you've held for so many years.
I got a call the other day from EJ Raddick, and got to be on his show, and he asked me that same question, and I told him, "Do you have about 4 hours?" I said, "I can tell you stories you just won't
Yeah.
believe," but I initiated a lot of things that I did, but how I got the job here, I won't mention names, but I was in New Haven for a couple of years, and I will say Roy Malacher was there as the GM, and Peter Cooney was an actual agent, and he was part owner of the Springfield team in the American League. And by that time, you're about, 25 seasons into the minor leagues. You're going, you give up. You're not going to get another job. And so Roy made a call on my behalf to Tony Tavares out here in California. And do you know, the next day I got a call and said, "We want to fly out for an interview."
Wow.
And all the time you're busting your butt, trying to get somewhere. I used to go to the winter baseball meetings. I'd have like 10, 15,000 resumes here, handing them out to people like, "Hey, I can do this. Give me a chance." Never worked that way, but it's kind of great. And that's why you stay in touch with people. And it's also why you don't burn any bridges elsewhere, because you never know where that person is going to wind up. And that was like for me. So I came out here and I got the job within about a week. And it's like all these times I've been sending tapes and that out. One bit of advice for everybody. Again, you don't burn any bridges, but you work hard. And the thing that I learned, because I was more interested in the announcing side, is, you know what? Show somebody that you're versatile. Do all the work, do that. Maybe I did it too long. I don't know.
You were
but,
too versatile.
Hey, I had a check coming in. That was the most important
Yeah.
thing. And guess what? You run into so many people. And the other thing I'll tell you is, when you deal with like sponsors and the people that make an organization click, that come out and support the team. And I've met so many great people out here. I don't even know what the number is, but you never know how somebody like that could be helpful, have a connection somewhere. And I've gotten a lot of secondary and third jobs over the years by just dealing with people, treating them like I'd want to be treated. Just as a fan, I'm a fan of what I do. As far as, I actually got a job in Major League Baseball. I never thought that would even happen, but you treat people nice. And I think at one point in your life, this is my experience talking to a lot of people, that I think everybody gets at least one shot, or maybe two opportunities to go on and maybe pursue a dream, unless they have a bad resume or got into trouble somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you go out and pay your dues, I think there's an opportunity out there for you, and you got to be a little aggressive, be aware of who's got an opening perhaps. And what I did when I was the PR guy in that, I'd go around to the broadcasters in the East Coast League, say, "Have you heard of anything opening?" And it's interesting how some of them are in the same boat you are, because they're trying to get there. But a couple of them took the time to tell me that there was an opening, that their family wasn't going to move. And that led to me contacting the right person, and I got the job 2 months later. So you got to treat people nice in this business too.
Yeah.
You just have to, because you never know who you're talking to, and it just winds up. I wish it would have been a little bit easier, but you know what? I think you would agree, Guy, as far as all the people in professional sports, I think a lot of them have to pay their dues and go through the minor leagues, but I think it makes you a better broadcaster, maybe a newspaper person that was working for the team, program editor. You get that experience and you have more to offer. And if that one thing doesn't work out, you've got opportunities here. And a lot of people don't want to pay their dues, but I just tell them it's very important. That's how a lot of guys doing what I've done over the years get their jobs, by making contacts and friends. They don't have to do anything for you, but it helps to have that guy in your corner and know that you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe this guy can make a call for you. And indeed, that's what happened.
What year did you come to the Ducks? What year was that? First year?
Oh God, this is 27 for me here. So
no, what? Yeah.
So,
Okay,
so
don't make me do the math.
I was still playing, so I had the chance to be a player when Steve was making a call,
Yeah.
and that's where I kind of wanted to go down the road of.
Yep.
Do you remember your very first Mighty Ducks of Anaheim game call? And do you remember who it was? Do you remember Is anything stick out about that very first? I mean, you've had, incredible calls, Stanley Cup calls, but just interesting about like your first game here in Anaheim.
Well, there was this guy, great guy named Guy Hebert. He made a terrific save on a shot. I can't remember who it was, one of my first calls back then, and I was going nuts.
Yes.
In fact, I kind of lost control. And then
We got to get a copy of that audio, right?
I'm going to go for a walk. I'll be back. You guys can wax poetically on that.
You know what? We've always had some really good players, good people from front office down in this organization, and just some great players. I just think about, the Teemu Selanis, the Scott Niedermayers, the people that were on the winning teams here and the team that won the cup. And they were just so professional. I'll tell you who I ran into just last week, though, and I had a chance to talk to him 3 or 4 different times, was Chris Pronger.
Hey,
and
he was on the big show here.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
huh?
we had him. Yeah. Hey,
Thanks for knowing. Thanks for listening,
yeah.
Steve. We appreciate
Steve
that.
apparently is a follower of the Mask and the Mike. He didn't want to pay for the subscription.
Hey, did he get a gift for being on the show?
You'll never know.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
you'll
it was
never
nice
know.
to talk to him. And here recently, with all the things that have happened off the ice for me, I've heard from people like Francois Beauchemin, people that were on those great teams, and even the early going. And, they're all great. Hockey people, to me, and I don't want to make anybody upset because there's some great people in baseball, the minor leagues, NBA, done a little bit of everything, filled in. But the guys in hockey, and I think it's the nature of the sport, there's just something special about them where they can be approachable in any situation, team struggling, going through a rough time. But I tell everybody, these young kids, when I go out and talk sometimes, that, you've got to be there and treat people right too. Don't have an opinion on everything, but just call the game as you see it and get to know the players more, because they'll respect you more if they see you at morning skates. They know that you're a hard worker and you do as much preparation as you can. You're not going to have any problems at all dealing with them. You can go up, ask for an interview. It's the guys that don't want to work too hard, stay at home, and then they're at the rink 2 hours ahead of time asking people all these questions. So that's one thing that I would recommend for young kids in any line of sport, and have fun. I have more fun doing stuff like that than anything, because you're around the players, you get to know them, and then you get to know the visiting players, and that's what it takes. And it's not that difficult to be nice to people. I mean, the way the world's going right now, I'm glad I'm in sports because I have something positive to think about, and just grateful that I've spent all these years in this business.
What's your favorite call? Do you have one?
Like on the game? Like when we won the Stanley
Cup,
Cup,
not calling like weather or anything, but no. Yes, I'm talking about like with the Anaheim Ducks, one of your favorite calls,
or
the final Stanley Cup. They win the cup. What was your most memorable call?
The main one has to be when we won the Stanley Cup. It has to be, and a few years before that, we came awfully close in that. But that's what every broadcaster wants to do. They want to broadcast a World Series win, a Super Bowl win, an NBA title, and but yeah, that was terrific. We've had so many good people come through here, and Guy is right at the top of it. I will just tell you that, not because he's here.
You lie.
Well, he paid me before the game, so now before this. Okay, but anyway, no, we've been, I think, blessed with so many great people here, and even the coaches. Some lasted longer than others, but and that's what's big for people like us in broadcasting, regardless of the sport you play. You show up, and I said this to a kid who called me the other day. You show up, do your work, do the prep, and you've got to do that, because something will happen during the game that you would have known had you been there. And it's not that difficult. If you like what you do, just go. The players respect you, I think, a lot more when they see a lot of you and know that you're there and you really care about the team, the wins and losses. So that's part of the job. And, I never had a problem with that because I just loved what I did.
This podcast is a blueprint for the up-and-coming broadcaster on how you need to act, how you need to treat people, how hard you need to work to make it go in here. And don't take no for an answer. And Steve Carroll didn't do that for 30 plus years in minor leagues. And this is why he is sitting here with us today. So, good on you. I mean, I can't tell you how an honor it has been. Without getting into it too much, Steve has supported my career. For somebody he didn't know, we sat next to each other at the ESPN zone doing live shows.
Yeah.
I was nobody. I was a cable guy asking Steve Carroll to do shows with me. We went to spring training together. We were in rental cars going up to Oakland covering baseball. I mean, God knows. And by the way, you got to tell you this, like on the baseball field. So I know Steve from hockey, right? Both you and I, we get on the baseball field. He's a freaking hero. He's like a celebrity. Other players and coaches that have been in the league a long time with his minor league experience, he is known by so many people and knows so many people. It is just remarkable. And that says a lot for you and for your career. But I do want to ask you before we kind of start wrapping this up is the fans. And I see you interact with them. You lean over the press box, you talk to them, you spend extra time at Ducks events. You take time to be with fans, and they showed their appreciation to you on April the 12th when it was your final game. Standing ovation. The players were standing. Everybody was standing to tell you how much they meant to you. How much do the fans mean to you?
Well, it's very simple. I was one of them growing up.
Yeah.
I was a fan. I went through it. Excuse me. I always wanted to get autographs after games, which I did. I still have most of them. And you know what? I was one of them because I went to games everywhere in St. Louis, standing room only for one whole season with the Blues. And I just loved sports. And then I'd stand up there calling the play-by-play, even though I couldn't see all the way down the ice. I just guessed who it was, but I wasn't on the air. But, that's the way I've been raised. Is to be nice to people, and you're doing something special that not a lot of people get to do. And I'm just fortunate that I've been all these places. And here's one more thing, Ken, I'll tell you. Again, I've mentioned this phrase before, you don't burn any bridges, because I don't know how many times when I left an organization, a person, I don't care, male, female, whoever it was, how much experience they have or didn't have, you wind up running into them later in your career.
Yeah.
And guess what? That might be the person that's the difference between you getting a job and not, because you know their background from working with them before. And you stay close. There's going to be some people that you don't necessarily enjoy being around, but I haven't met too many in the sports world. And that's what you have to do. You got to pay the price too. People, I'm just telling you, the minor leagues aren't too bad. You go there and have a good time, and you're taking that first step as a broadcaster, if that's what you want, to maybe make it someday. And if you don't have that, you don't really have a whole lot to show the upcoming employer either. So.
Yeah. And I will say this too. I mean, kind of speechless at the end here, Steve. I mean, again, you meant so much to me, and I know that it was so important for us to have you come on. I know this is kind of a difficult time too, because now the Ducks are in the postseason for the first time in 8 seasons, and you're not there. What it has been like? Are you watching the games? Are you still? I mean, as Ducks lose game 1, we're not going to turn this into an analysis of what needs to happen with the Anaheim Ducks by any means.
I missed that game, by the way.
But right.
No,
but are you watching, paying attention, and what is this experience like for you right now?
Well, I'll tell you how much hockey I've been watching lately. I turn on the American Hockey League game of the week, and that's when their playoffs are going on, to see some of the prospects. But no, to be honest with you, I've seen every minute of every playoff game thus far. Now, if a team's getting beat like 3-1 and it's getting near 10 o'clock, and my wife said, hey, you've been watching hockey, we need to get some sleep tonight. Well, then I have to shut it down.
I want to put some, Real Housewives of somebody on and enjoy the night.
Yeah. But no, I've watched every game. I think there's been a couple of minutes of each game when it's been a little more one-sided. But hey, we're lucky to be in a sport that has some of the best athletes around. And I will just tell you up front, there's a lot of great people in the other sports, but there's none better than hockey players at every level. And it's just something I learned a long, long time ago. And I think a lot of it is how hard it is to get through, learn how to skate, things like that, to get to any particular level. But the game is difficult to play if you don't have any skill in that. And the people are more agreeable. This is my opinion, being with them all the time for years. You're going through tough times. This is the way to judge a player or a person if you're a broadcaster, even if you're not a play-by-play guy. But the ones that cooperate, and then when they see you the next week or two, or even the next day at practice, they'll always come up and say hello. And guess what? When that time comes up where there's breaking news and you want a quote from maybe a star player, they already know who you are, and you've went and told them that you enjoy. Chris Pronger was one of them, and he's doing pretty well right now. But you make as many connections as you can, and hockey players are right there at the top of the list. And I'm talking about front office people too, officials. Got a chance to visit with them over the years, and they're just great. And it's the nature of the sport too. I can't believe these guys are doing what they're doing on skates. I'll be real frank with you. I had a hard time roller skating, and that wasn't too bad when I was a kid, but these guys are terrific, and this has been the most enjoyable experience I've had up here with this organization. They've treated me very, very well, and my only goal now is to, at least be a part, do something away from what I'm doing here if they let me, and, hopefully be a part of this team going a long way and perhaps winning a Stanley Cup down the line.
I love it. I love it. And Gibo, we all had chatted prior to pressing record and coming on the air, but it was a rough week for the Ducks family. It was a rough week for the Angels family. We lost two friends, starting with Garrett Anderson, who by the way, you and I had on this podcast, our first ever guest.
Yep.
And I just look back on that, and I think we both agree. We saw a side of GA when we talked to him, just a happy, open, gentleman who doesn't like talking necessarily to the media a lot, but he talked to us because we're friends. And the way that he opened up to us and talked to us, and I'll never forget that. And he became a friend on the Angels broadcast, and we sat in the press box and talked baseball, talked family, talked life. And I know that you had a chance to golf with him, and you had another relationship with him as well. So it's one that it's not going to go away anytime soon. And I hope it won't, because it hurts. And I just want to give my respects to GA and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually met a couple buddies yesterday, all friends from golf, and we had lunch and had a drink in his honor, and it's a great guy. Not to get too deep into it, but just that's how precious life really is. Embrace the people that are around you, enjoy that you're around them, and let people know how much you care and love them. And I think that's something that
always
is a great message.
Yeah. I'll just add one more thing. You know what? I think we're all very fortunate to be doing what we're doing here. All three of us, and some of the things we've been able to be a part of. And that doesn't happen very often. Sometimes you don't even get the opportunity in a lifetime. So the only other thing I would say is, when you do get the opportunity, do everything you can, first of all, to get there, but don't ruin it. Don't mess it up, because it's not a job to me. It's having a good time, broadcasting games. When I grew up listening to Dan Kelly of St. Louis, people thought I was weird with this transistor up in the standing room only. Like, what are you listening to? Dan Kelly. They go, well, wait, he's right up there. I go, well, I can't lay this, go down and catch everything he's doing. But they said, oh, well, that's kind of neat. I said, yeah, I'm trying to get into broadcasting. So you take advantage of everything that might help you in what you're wanting to do for a living. And the other thing, and I'll be quiet because I like to talk a lot, as you know, be nice to people. Be nice to people, because you never know who you're running into. It's happened to me several times. And then in one case, 1 year later, you go, you remember me, don't you? I go, you look familiar. Well, you spent some time with my two kids. You took them downstairs to the locker room. That means more to not only you and the kids, but also to the families. And if you could make some people happy in this crazy, crazy world we live in, you're doing something nice, and it won't be forgotten.
Well, and somebody that made us all happy too, and we'll end with this, was Paulie, who was, a security guard over at Honda Center for almost 25 years. He passed suddenly as well. I mean, as I mentioned, it it was a rough one, and he was family. And you know, we talk about faces of franchises, and I really believe in my heart that Paulie was the face of the Ducks. It was the face of Honda Center for all of us who knew him, who he greeted us every morning when we go in for morning skate, when we go in for the games, whatever it may be. Paulie was always there with a fist bump and a smile, and he was the larger than life, Gibo. I mean, he was somebody that, you know, I will always see his face every time I walk in that building from here on out.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but, you know, may he rest in peace. And there's not going to be any like him ever again. He was one special man.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, tough week, but hopefully this podcast will give some people some comfort. And we will miss both of those gentlemen dearly.
Well, Stevo, we're going to miss you hearing your broadcast, but we're not going to miss you because you're not going anywhere. God knows you'll probably be on this podcast again.
Oh,
we got so much more to talk about. We have, I mean, my goodness, we're only an hour into this thing, and you have so many stories. It could fill up 3 or 4 hours, as you know. So, thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this. We really, truly appreciate it. We appreciate you and everything you did for the organization, but more importantly, for what you did for us, really, and being our friend.
Well, you two guys are special too. Enjoy being around you. You're good people, so you want to be around people like that. And let's do it again. We will. Don't want to stray too far from the world of hockey.
No, you won't. You won't. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out the Mask of the Mike podcast. It is on YouTube. You can see our smiling faces at The Mask the Mike. And then also we're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. Gibo, good stuff, man. And, you know,
the legend.
Good having the legend next to us as well.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Steve. Appreciate it.
And
no problem.
As we always like to say, Gibo.
And good for us.
Good for me, too.